Welcome back to Global Wheel Hub. Today we are diving into something that has already started building hype in the motorcycle community even before its official global rollout, the all-new 2026 Suzuki Katana 150R. Now before we get into it, let's be clear, this machine is positioned as a lightweight street fighter inspired by the legendary Katana lineage, but tuned for the 150cc performance segment. And that alone already makes it one of the most interesting entry-level sport bikes we've seen Suzuki experiment with in recent years. So let's break it down properly: design, performance, features, ride feel, and of course whether this bike actually deserves your money when it hits the showrooms. Starting with the design, because honestly, that's the first thing that grabs you. The 2026 Katana 150R carries the same aggressive DNA as its bigger siblings in the Katana family. Sharp, angular body lines, a futuristic Street Fighter stance, and that unmistakable samurai blade inspiration that Suzuki has been famous for since the revival of the Katana nameplate. The front fascia is dominated by a compact LED headlamp setup that looks like it's been carved rather than assembled. It gives the bike a very sharp, focused expression, almost like it's constantly ready to attack the road. The fuel tank design is muscular but compact, giving riders a strong grip with knee recesses that actually feel purposeful rather than just cosmetic. The tank shrouds flow into the side panels in a very aerodynamic way, reducing drag and improving high-speed stability. At the rear, Suzuki has gone with a minimalistic tail section, a sleek LED tail lamp, and a slightly raised tail that gives it that proper Street Fighter attitude. One thing that really stands out is the attention to proportions. Even though it's a 150cc class motorcycle, it doesn't look small or underwhelming. Suzuki has managed to give it a big bike visual presence. And that's a huge selling point for younger riders who want something that looks premium without jumping into higher displacement costs. Moving on to the engine and performance side of things, the 2026 Katana 150R is expected to feature a refined 150cc single-cylinder, liquid-cooled engine tuned for a balance between city efficiency and sporty acceleration. Suzuki is reportedly focusing on smooth power delivery rather than aggressive peak horsepower numbers, which means this bike is designed more for real-world usability than track domination. Power output is expected to be around the 18 to 20 horsepower range, paired with a 6-speed gearbox that has been optimized for short, crisp shifts. Torque delivery is where Suzuki has likely focused its engineering efforts, giving the bike strong low and mid-range pull, making it ideal for urban traffic as well as occasional highway runs. What makes the riding experience interesting is the lightweight chassis. The Katana 150R is expected to sit on a newly developed lightweight trellis frame that improves rigidity while keeping overall weight low, somewhere around 135 to 145 kilograms. That power-to-weight ratio is what makes this bike feel quicker than its numbers suggest. In city riding, the bike feels nimble, easy to flick through traffic, and very forgiving for newer riders. On open roads, it holds its composure surprisingly well, with minimal vibrations even when pushed near higher RPMs. Suzuki has always been known for engine smoothness, and that philosophy continues here. Now let's talk about suspension, because this is where ride comfort and sporty handling meet. At the front, you're expected to get telescopic forks tuned slightly on the stiffer side for better cornering feedback. At the rear, a monoshock setup handles stability and absorbs road imperfections quite well. It's not a luxury touring setup, but for a sporty commuter, it strikes a really good balance between comfort and control. Braking duties are handled by a disc brake setup on both ends, likely with single-channel ABS as standard and possibly dual-channel ABS in higher trims depending on market. Braking feel is progressive, which gives newer riders confidence while still allowing experienced riders to push a bit harder when needed. Now coming to one of the most important parts, the technology and features. Suzuki is clearly trying to modernize this segment with the Katana 150R. Expected features include a fully digital LCD or possibly a TFT display depending on variant. This display will show gear position, fuel efficiency, real-time mileage, trip meters, and possibly Bluetooth connectivity for smartphone pairing. LED lighting is standard across the bike, including headlamp, indicators, and tail lamp. This not only improves visibility but also reduces power consumption. There's also talk of ride assist features like low RPM assist, easy start system, and possibly a basic traction control system in higher trims, which would be quite impressive for a 150cc category bike. Fuel efficiency is another strong point. Suzuki is targeting somewhere around 40 to 55 kilometers per liter depending on riding conditions. In city commuting scenarios, you can expect slightly lower figures, but on steady highway cruising, the bike becomes very economical. And that's a big deal in markets where fuel prices are a constant concern. Let's talk about ergonomics and riding position, because this bike is not just about looks or numbers. The Katana 150R is expected to have a slightly aggressive yet comfortable riding posture. The handlebars are positioned to give a forward-leaning stance, but not extreme enough to cause wrist fatigue during daily commuting. Foot peg positioning is slightly rear set, which helps in sporty cornering without making long rides uncomfortable. The seat design is split style, with the rider seat slightly contoured for better grip and comfort. Pillion comfort is decent for short rides, but clearly the focus here is solo riding experience, which matches the bike's Streetfighter personality. Now let's move into the real-world riding feel. This is where the Katana 150R tries to separate itself from typical commuter bikes. The throttle response is expected to be very linear, meaning there's no sudden jerky power delivery. Instead, power builds smoothly, which gives riders confidence whether they are beginners or slightly experienced riders upgrading from smaller bikes. Handling is one of its strongest areas. The lightweight frame combined with responsive suspension makes cornering feel natural and predictable. Lane changes are quick, and the bike feels planted even at moderate highway speeds. Suzuki has likely tuned the chassis to prioritize stability without sacrificing agility, and that balance is what makes this bike appealing.